So the country is in a full chaos. On the other side, their ESG score and their environmental score is much higher right now, but this is at the expense of people suffering. If people don't resist, they will lose even more of their liberties and freedom.
Today to surround the president's official residence this morning, as you can see, after breaking barricades which were set up by the police. Several military personnel have also joined the citizens as they demand the resignation of President Rajapaksa.
Hello everybody, today I want to talk about the new policies made by the European Union, and they are actually telling farmers all around Europe to close their farms and to stop producing food because they have to meet with the climate requirements. And I want to talk about this because it's really disturbing, at least to me and everybody who's actually researching this. Because what this really means is that they are going to close, in this case, 3,000 farms in the Netherlands. Netherlands, for those who don't know, is the country which is producing the most food to export in Europe. So it's the world's second biggest food exporter. The farmers had really, they protested against the government and they tried to stop these policies, but in the end the government will have to buy their lands and their property, their farms, and their animals will have to be killed just because they don't meet the climate requirements. And that's a very scary thing. My comment on this is just that when the biggest exporter of food in Europe stops exporting as much meat and dairy products and in all sorts of vegetables. By the way, Netherlands is also the biggest vegetable exporter for Western Europe. This will immediately pump up the prices and make all these agricultural products, vegetables, dairy products, meat, much more expensive, unaffordable for European citizens. If people of the Netherlands right now, I'm talking about the Netherlands, even though this is happening in other countries too, in Germany and in France too, but the Netherlands is on the largest scale. So if people of the Netherlands don't stop what's happening right now and support the farmers in their protest, this means that our food will be much more different and we will have to choose from much less. And this is part of being a human in advanced society, that you can actually afford and not spend much money on food and eat a good quality food.
Last week in the Netherlands, Klaus Schwab's golden pin-up boy, Prime Minister Mark Rutte, is busy fulfilling the agenda of the World Economic Forum's Great Reset by turfing farmers off their own land because bureaucrats deem there's too much nitrogen in the soil. Ooh, this is the Great Reset.
If they're going to do everything that they want, if they want to go to the goal, they're going to reduce 50% of the farmers here in Holland.
Sure.
And that's only the farming. But the truck drivers is going to come down, industry is coming to come down, mechanics is going to come down, everything is going down.
At the same time, people are aware that the climate is changing, and that we need to step up our collective efforts to make sure that we counter that and that we mitigate.
This is a violation of our property rights. So if we allow the governments to take our property, imagine all these farmers, they had been probably in business for hundreds of years. Their grandparents started the farm and they just developed. This is what they had been doing for most of their lives. Most likely this is the case for most of the farmers. So if we just allow the government to take our property, what kind of democracy is this? Are we really free people? Because the foundation of being a free person is actually being able to have property and own means of production. This is how the middle class was created. I'm really pissed off about this, and everybody should be, because if we don't resist right now, in other countries as well, if we don't stop this, they'll only continue, and at the end we will really own nothing, and I'm not really sure, but we will be happy. This is what they are saying, and this agenda is very dangerous. And all this, by the way, is under the pretense that all of us, all our food and lifestyle is somehow damaging the environment, because somehow carbon dioxide and all the pesticides and fertilizers are bad. But the reality is that the pesticides and the fertilizers back a few decades ago enabled the population to grow so much and make food much cheaper and more affordable for everybody. So our standards all around the world were lifted because of the fertilizers. And now what the European Union is saying is that we cannot use as much fertilizers. And just for a reference, what this is going to cause is Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka is a really good example of this policy. So what happened just a couple of 3 years ago in Sri Lanka, the politicians said, well, that's it, we're not gonna use these harmful for nature, environment pesticides, and we will only develop biofarming. So Sri Lanka, which biggest export is tea, they end up in chaos because their agricultural production really fell off a cliff and they were not able to actually produce and export, and that's why you see all this chaos. The country went bankrupt and a lot of people were starving and were unable even to put some gasoline in their motorcycles to go around. So the country is in a full chaos. On the other side, their ESG score and their environmental score is much higher right now, but this is at the expense of people suffering and losing their production and their source of income. So this is also happening in Europe, and if people don't resist, they will lose even more of their liberties and freedoms, because being able to choose what to eat is what makes you a citizen in a highly developed society. Thank you very much for the attention.